and welcome to the program. Thank you for joining us again today. Of course, this is the Money Show reaching you live from Nigeria's capital, Abuja. Thank you for always being out there. Of course, we keep you up to the minute with business, finance, as well as economic and market and investment information. Today on the program, we'll be doing it again. All right, we'll take you through our top stories for today. Headlines in the world of business. We'll also take you through the market movements so far today. Though in the Asian region, the markets are closed as we speak, but we have the numbers. We'll also take you through Wall Street, that's in the United States, as well as other European markets trading right about now. All right, let's get started by telling you that the Central Bank of Nigeria plans to raise about 122.9 billion naira via treasury bills with tenors ranging from 3 months to 1 year tomorrow. That's on Wednesday. The CBN said on Monday that it will raise 45.17 billion naira in the 3-month bill, 23.4 billion naira in 6 months bill, and 54.35 billion naira in 1 year bills using the Dutch auction system. Yields on the paper were expected to be lower than the returns at the last auction held on October 24, when yields on the 3 months paper was 8.4%, the 6-month debt attracted 10.15%, and 1 year paper fetched 10.8%. Meanwhile, yields on Nigeria's local currency denominated bonds are expected to rise this week as offshore investors and some local investors sold holdings. Okay, still on the Central Bank of Nigeria, of course, the hula baloo over the BVN registration. But the Central Bank of Nigeria did say on Monday that it has extended the timeline for Nigerian bank customers in the diaspora to enroll for their bank verification numbers to January 31, 2016. So if you have relatives, if you have families, you have friends and loved ones abroad, you can communicate this to them. The Apex Bank explained that the extension was to enable the customers in the diaspora to complete the enrollment as well as link the BVN to their respective accounts. It stated that the extension was only for customers in the diaspora and advised deposit money banks to ensure that the exemption was utilized by the targeted group only. CBN clarified that accounts of Nigerian residents without BVN would continue to receive cash and electronic credit inflows and would neither be deactivated or confiscated. It further advised the deposit money banks to educate their customers accordingly. Let's talk about non-oil exports in the country. The Nigerian Export Promotion Council, that is the NEPC, had said that the country's earnings from non-oil exports dropped by 52.2 billion naira to about 78.2 billion naira in the second quarter of 2015 from 130.4 billion naira recorded in the second quarter of 2014, representing a 39.2% decline. Of course, the decline was attributed to the slump in non-oil export revenue earnings, to the suspension of the Export Expansion Grant, that's the EEG, and the insurgency in the Northeast. Segun Awolowo, who is the Executive Secretary of the NEPC, says that one of the challenges faced is the continued rejection of product by foreign importers, which he noted was due to improper documentation by clearing and forwarding agents. The NEPC boss stated that an inquiry into some of the causes of product rejection revealed that some exporters ran foul of documentation rules. Segun Awolowo stated also that an inter-agency committee was working to ensure zero rejection by next year. Let's take this report as a way of helping to bear the burden of the downtrodden in the society. The Central Bank of Nigeria reached out to the less privileged through alms and donations. Our reporter Phoebe Tukuru looks at how this action sets good precedents for staff of other corporate organizations to follow. Take a listen.
As part of the staff's corporate social responsibility to the immediate community and a bid to address the nagging issues of street beggars and destitutes in some parts of the country, the Central Bank of Nigeria Staff Arms Fund Initiative, CSAF, commissioned 2 orphanage homes worth over 44 million naira in Kuje and Gwagwalada areas of Abuja.
The CBN Staff Arms Fund was established as a result of our initiative to collectively address the nagging issues of street begging and the destitute in our major cities of Lagos and Abuja. Eventually, all the branches of the Central Bank of Nigeria keyed into these laudable projects by also establishing a similar fund in their various locations.
Good development, because all the children were staying in the same hostel and they were growing. And there was a need to separate the boys from the girls. This is what led to the construction of this hostel. The central bank answer, as I said, is reserved. We come in where we see that there's need for us to assist. And we saw an urgent need for assistance here, and that is why we came in.
The fund, established in 2003 by the management of the CBN under the leadership of Dr. Joseph Osanusi, in 2009 approved about 25 million for the Al-Ansar Orphanage Home, Kuje, as well as over 20 million for the male hostel at St. Mary's Orphanage Home, Gwagwalada.
This fund was established in 2003 by the management of the Central Bank of Nigeria under the leadership of Dr. Joseph Osanusi, CON, and it gives me great pleasure that we have cause to be here in vivid testimony to the commendable vision of 12 years ago. The CBN Staff Arms Fund was established as a result of an initiative to collectively address the nagging issues of street begging and the destitute in our major cities of Lagos and Abuja. Our branches of the Central Bank of Nigeria later keyed into this laudable project by also establishing a similar fund in their various locations.
This opportunity to commend the effort of the Central Bank of Nigeria and to call on all other corporate organizations to emulate this gesture, and to also call on the wealthy and well-placed individuals in the society to strive to assist the less privileged among us by way of giving back to society.
And so, being the executive chairman of Kujera Council, I said I must be here personally. I am overwhelmed, very, very happy with this project.
While commending the CBN for the project, it was noted that there are many widows and orphans as a result of insurgency ravaging the country. Phoebe Tukur, reporting for The Money Show.
Solomon Arasa, the Inspector General of Police, says that despite achievements and plans already on ground, more can be done to upgrade the police force in order to fight electronic fraud in the country. Take a listen.
Well, as a security organization, we are always on top of our game. We have a department that has been dealing with issues like that. But now that the game has been upped, then it means our capacity has to be enhanced. So that is exactly what we are going to do in collaboration with all stakeholders. This one is going to be a specialized one. But prior to this time, we already had a special fraud unit based in Lagos. You know, they already had some capacity in this area. But now that you have a peculiar situation that we are going to deal with, then it's just going to be a small unit under, you know, the umbrella of that bigger unit. So we know that the central bank too, in collaboration with other stakeholders in the financial and monetary systems, will be able to, you know, engage the National Assembly and ensure that, you know, our laws continue to evolve as these crimes as they crop up.
All right, that was Solomon Arase, the Inspector General of Police, speaking about electronic fraud. Don't forget that last week on the program we did tell you that we lose about 4 billion naira to electronic fraud. So for those of us that receive fraudulent emails and, you know, asking us for our ATM or debit cards, pins and all of that, you've got to be very careful. There are some mails that you will get. You are not banking with a particular bank, but a mail will come from that bank. Ignore such mails, and when you're asked about your PIN or some essential passwords, please don't oblige them. You know, there are fraudsters everywhere. All right, let's quickly take a break, and when we come back, the show continues. Do stay with us.
We shouldn't do protectionism, but we should be selective in what we do based on what we find on the ground. So that's what I think the central bank is battling. They are working very hard because really it's easy, I find, to criticize any government. But if you really imagine yourself in the shoes of somebody like Emefiele, what are you going to do? You're going to do something because you have all the information. You see that if you don't take this step, your foreign reserve is going to be depleted in a hurry. And when that is done, the whole economy tanks. So what this government needs to do is to adjust the elite consumption level. You know, that's what I'm saying. You have to talk to the people. You have to tell them, look, things are bad now. You have to change. The way the things you consumed before will no longer be available. Things are going to be very difficult. This is what leadership is all about. You let the people know that the good times are over. We have been so much spendthrifts. We have been so much into conspicuous consumption. We have been so much into West. Now it's not going to happen anymore.
The bearish momentum continued on the floor of the Nigerian Stock Exchange on the first trading day of the month. That's on November. The all-share index shared about 0.14%, finishing at 29,136.85. The market cap closed at 10 trillion naira. Investors staked a total of 2.96 billion naira on 308.12 million ordinary shares. The top gainers for Monday included PZ Flour Mills as well as GT Bank, while the laggards were Nestle Nigeria PLC and Unilever. Moving over to other African markets, the Accra Bourse All-Share Index has gradually shifted into the 2000 psychological point mark. The All-Share Index of the Accra exchange, that's in Ghana, was upside by 5 points earlier today. The South African market appreciated by about 12 points, trading at 53,860.25. Yesterday, we also saw the JSE, that the Johannesburg Securities Exchange, suspending the shares of MTN, suspending trading on the shares of MTN due to the over 1 trillion naira fine by the Nigerian Communication Commission on MTN. Looking at Egypt, 12 points higher earlier today. If we move over to Wall Street, where we saw U.S. markets closing higher, that they closed higher on Monday, nearly 1%, the first trading day of November. And of course, that appreciation was helped by gains in energy and health stocks. That's healthcare stocks. Let's go to the United States, where Dow Jones Industrial Average, Nasdaq and S&P 500, as you can see on your screen, all green numbers. The European equities fluctuated between the positive and negative territory in early morning trade today, with earnings from UBS and Standard Chartered in focus for investors. European equities got a boost today from global counterparts. From the DAX to the FTSE 100 in London, those stocks are quite mixed. The DAX in Germany, 15 points down earlier today, while the CAC run in Paris just appreciated by 1 point. Moving over to Asia, where equities advanced on a boost overnight from Wall Street. Of course, the Asian region is closed as the market. The Nikkei 225 was down by about 2.1%, while the Hang Seng of Hong Kong outpaced its mainland peers. It's appreciated by 1.11%. Shanghai Composite of China declined by 0.33% as Chinese markets fell short of broader advances across the region amid jitters surrounding a crackdown on illegal futures trading and ongoing anti-corruption investigations into companies such as Dangfeng Motor Group in China. Meanwhile, the Kospi of South Korea also headed north, while the Indian market was upside also, close to 0.5% at 26,678.74. The Australian index rose after the RBA, the RBA is the Reserve Bank of Australia, left interest rates unchanged at 2%. Let's move over to commodities. Of course, it's no longer news that prices of commodities have been on a downward trend. Brent crude today, prices are remaining under pressure from oversupply in the market, while the yellow metal called gold is stuck near a 4-week low on U.S. rate hike in view. Gold is trading at around $1,134 an ounce, down 0.10% at so far today. Sugar is doing $15.12, cocoa at $3,285 a ton, while coffee is trading down 2.3%. Let's move over to the Naira rate and see how the Naira is faring against three major currencies we track for you on the show. That's the dollar, the pound, and the euro. The numbers are, the parallel numbers are 227 for the dollar, 247 for the pound, 347 for the pound, as well as 256 for the euro. Those are parallel numbers, while the official numbers are 196 for the dollar. The pound is going for 304. The euro is going for 216. Let's check out other currencies abroad. Of course, the dollar, which is the reserve currency, is trading water today. The Aussie, the Australian dollar, edged up after the Reserve Bank of Australia left rate steady at 2%, while the Japanese yen is restrained, is trading nearly flat. All right, let's quickly take a break, and when we come back, the show continues. Please do stay with us. You can find us on our social media platforms, ABC at Money Show, ABC Money Show Live on Facebook. You can tweet at us at The Money Show Live. You can also tweet at me at the handle Nancy. You can find us or send us a mail at themoneyshowlive@gmail.com. There will be the scroll coming in a few minutes. If you want to reach us, you have businesses, we don't just talk money, we also follow where the money is. So you can also reach us. We'll be right back after this break. Do join us again.
A security organization, we are always on top of our game. We have a department that has been dealing with issues like that. But now that the game has been upped, then it means our capacity has to be enhanced. So that is exactly what we are going to do in collaboration with all stakeholders. This one is going to be a specialized one. But prior to this time, we already had a special fraud unit based in Lagos. They already had some capacity in this area. But now that you have a peculiar situation that we are going to deal with, then it's just going to be a small unit under, the umbrella of that bigger unit. So we know that the central bank too, in collaboration with other stakeholders in the financial and monetary systems, will be able to, engage the National Assembly and ensure that, our laws continue to evolve as these crimes as they crop up.
We shouldn't do protectionism, but we should be selective in what we do based on what we find on the ground. So that's what I think the central bank is battling. They are working very hard because really it's easy, I find, to criticize any government. But if you really imagine yourself in the shoes of somebody like Emefiele, what are you going to do? You're going to do something because you have all the information. You see that if you don't take this step, your foreign reserve is going to be depleted in a hurry. And when that is done, the whole economy tanks. So what this government needs to do is to adjust the elite consumption level. That's what I'm saying. You have to talk to the people. You have to tell them, look, things are bad now. You have to change. The way the things you consumed before will no longer be available. Things are going to be very difficult. This is what leadership is all about. You let the people know that the good times are over. We have been so much spent. We have been so much into conspicuous consumption We have been so much into West. Now it's not going to happen anymore.
This is the Money Show coming to you live from Nigeria's capital, Abuja. The market rose by about 105 billion naira. And there's some other things that we can do to help small businesses in Nigeria.
There is. Like one of the things we found out was that most of our businessmen do not have the capacity to do a business plan. We have very good policies, but be consistent with those policies.
Whether it's a solo business or it's a big brand, it's the same thing. You might not necessarily have to attend a business school, but you need knowledge to run a business.
The federal government cannot do it alone, and then the state government cannot do it alone, so there has to be a synergy. And the synergy must be a very productive one.
All right, welcome back. In case you're just joining us, it's still the Money Show. It's time for our conversation now. We're looking at grooming intrapreneurs in Nigeria as well as entrepreneurs. Intra/entrepreneurs in Nigeria. You know, the popular word in Nigeria now is everyone wants to be an entrepreneur. Is that actually the solution to job creation? You know, when people get out of school, they say, oh, our schools, do they equip us for being entrepreneurs? And everyone wants to own a business or, one or the other. Today, that's what we'll be looking at on the show. Joining me right now is Linus Okorie, who is the president of Okorie, isn't it? Yes, yeah, Okorie is Guardians of the Nation.
International,
that's Okorie. So welcome to the program.
Great to be here today.
You're known to talk so much about leadership.
Absolutely.
How critical is leadership to nation building? And when I talk about nation building, I mean in all facets of nation building. You have the political aspects, you have the political, socio-economic aspect of. So how critical is nation building at this time?
I had an encounter with a very great man in the world called Professor John Adair. John Adair happens to be the first professor of leadership in the world and chairs United Nations Leadership Systems, and currently is 82 years old. And when he visited Nigeria, he looked at me and he said, Linus, do you know that the greatest problem facing Africa the greatest task facing Nigeria is to groom good leaders and leaders for good.
To groom good
leaders
and
leaders for good.
Which means two different things.
Two different things.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, to groom good leaders and leaders for good. It means that at the heart of, you know, growth, prosperity of nations is the foundation for leadership capital in individuals. Any individual that does not have quality leadership capital, whether he's in the business community, whether he's in the political community, whose business capital is not sound, who doesn't have the capacity to think beyond the normal, who doesn't have the ability to serve, who doesn't have the ability to make a difference, who doesn't have the spirit of enterprise, or call it, you know, integrity and all of that, you know, such individuals will not be able to make a difference, no matter how intelligent they are. You know, and when, you know, he said that, and I looked at this country and I said, that is really true of the African system. You know, if we must grow as a country, we must begin to invest hugely like never before on the leadership capital of the young people.
The question will be, how do we get leadership capital? Because from what you're saying right now, for the fact that someone is intelligent or smart or brilliant doesn't mean that you can be a good leader.
Absolutely.
Isn't it?
Absolutely.
You know what comes to my mind now? Taking a look at the screening that was done.
Yes.
Do you understand? For the fact that they answered questions,
Absolutely.
the ministerial nominees, and and everyone, also, some people are saying, oh, they're very smart people.
Absolutely.
You need to give this person the Minister of Finance.
Correct.
He or she spoke well. Send this person to help because you think, does that actually, should that be a yardstick for saying that person could be a good leader?
It's not enough. It's not enough. You know, it is important, but it's not enough. There are other qualities that are required. Take, for instance, when Lee Kuan Yew left, you know, England, and he came to his country and saw his country in poverty. And, you know, he began to dream about the greatness of his country. What did he do? He realizes the importance of leadership and began to teach young people of his country how to be leaders. He taught them excellence. He taught them in critical ways and, you know, build a critical mass of them to think about the future of his country and the capabilities and the kind of things that can happen. They can do with spirit. And he taught them all of that. They were attitudinal in nature. They were attitude content. And those were the driving force that led to the growth of Singapore around 10 years. It took about 10 years after. And their country became, you know, such a force in the world. You know what I mean? So what I'm saying is that, you know, we have to, you know, begin to shift attention to this country in such a way that investment in young people, in young professionals, investment in entrepreneurs, investment in intrapreneurs, basically. How can we begin to get these change agents, you know, to think differently, to be people of service, to be people of honor, to be people that have integrity, that can drive growth within systems. It's only that kind of huge investment that can have a critical mass of our young people who will grow to become leaders in the future, and they will take over responsibilities of leadership, and they can make a difference because
now,
they've been groomed.
The question is, how do we get that leadership capital across? You understand? Is this something that should be done formally, or is this something that would be informal? Is it something that will be intangible? Okay, we have a leader now in the person of President Muhammadu Buhari. Though some of us are leaders in our respective corners, but is this something that we need to see that the leader of the country is epitomizing some leadership qualities and will take it? You know what I'm asking? Is this something that we should put in the curriculum or something?
There are four critical ways that I think that we can achieve that. First is self-study. Self-study. When an individual audits his personal life and says, this is where I want to go to in the future, and then he starts now to read all the books, materials necessary that will help him or her develop leadership skills. Yeah? Through that process, the individual can really be great. I was speaking to a group of young people the other time, and I said, for the past 2 years, how many of you have read up to 10 books? And I didn't see any hand up.
I was coming to that. There's this saying that if you want to hide something from an African or perhaps a Nigerian, put it in a book.
Absolutely, and I was quite, ashamed that, none of them said they read up to 2 books in the last 2 years. But you are the same person that you are now, except for 2 things: the people you meet and the books that you read. So if you create a leadership environment and make sure that your environment is filled with quality thinking, right? It impacts on your attitude, it impacts on your person. And if you read great books, it impacts on you. That's the first thing. Second thing is training. When people, deliberately decide to go for seminars or conferences or deliberate trainings within systems that will improve their leadership skills, they have opportunity of listening to people who have gone ahead, who have shown example of leadership, people who are role models. What happens is that in the process of that exchange, people can learn how to become leaders, exceptional leaders in that process. The other one is true education, and that's why we're saying that it could be formal, it could be informal, and that's why we're advocating that within our curriculum in school, from primary to secondary to universities and high institutions in this country, we must have a system, a curriculum that will be teaching leadership. Not just any kind of leadership, but comprehensive leadership development plan for young people.
Isn't it asking for too much?
No,
we're not. In terms of everyone says that we should teach, okay, entrepreneurship should also be in our curriculum.
Yes.
You understand the essence of building that entrepreneurship spirit amongst our young people, since Nigeria is a youthful population anyway. I also know that there's teachers of history are also campaigning that history should be taught in our schools. I think now history is no more taught in our schools. I'm also an advocate that history should be taught, because they say that if you don't know where you're coming from, isn't that how the
Yes, those things are important too, yes.
Now you're also taking a look at leadership.
Yes.
Should it be taught as something on its own, or should it be diffused into what we do every day in terms, even if in the school, do you understand what I'm saying?
Absolutely. In the secondary schools, you should have leadership clubs in the secondary school, for instance.
What will they
Just
be
like
doing?
you have press clubs, you know what I mean? And every week you have these young people meet by themselves. You know what I mean? And they design, activities and tasks that can enable them born and develop themselves. And they have mentors who come to inspire them. You know that? If you do that on a consistent basis over a period of time, then you begin to have what we call, a sound leadership capital that is within, those kind of young people's hearts. In the future, then they can begin to do things differently. Those are the things that I'm talking about. The last thing I was going to say was about experience. Through experience, young people learn leadership. And that's why one of the things that I've advocated is that, on the job experience, the moment young persons are working and they try to do, things in a new way on a daily basis, thinking outside of the box, innovate, as they do that, they fail, they learn. You see that? And so if we have, a country that designs policies deliberately on ensuring that young people have leadership development experiences on a very massive way, then we'll be able to now grow a system of young people that will be thinking for the common good, not about themselves.
But our system right now don't even encourage that people come in as apprentices and learn on the job. Just a few companies or a few places or a few individuals that even allow people to come near them to learn. There's this thing about, oh, why should you give this young person the job? That one, perhaps when the person knows it, he or she gets bigger than you, and the wealth of knowledge, people having wealth of knowledge don't want to
share.
To share,
yeah,
isn't it?
And that's why for the past many years, of my life, I have dedicated it with my team to building systems that will enable young people learn leadership skills that can help them become great entrepreneurs and social entrepreneurs as well, so that you can find these young people, because they are inspired to do great things. They do things that will impact their communities. They solve problems. They are solution providers. These are the kinds of people that we're talking. And that's why every year we decide to put up our Emerging Leaders Conference.
Oh, you do it every year?
Absolutely, every year.
How long has it been for now?
Emerging Leaders Conference has been for more than 10 years. I mean, we have been, first it was National Leadership and Economic Summit. Now it's Emerging Leaders Conference. conference. And so every year we gather, 1,000 people coming together from all over Nigeria. These are young professionals. These are entrepreneurs, business owners, change makers, people who are thinking about, I want to, understand global practices in the way my business is run. I want to understand, global practices in the way that I contribute to my organization. Because in this country, remember, when we're talking about entrepreneurship, guess what everybody's talking about? Oh, let's promote entrepreneurship. And you discover that attention is paid on just entrepreneurs. Meanwhile, there are people who are employed within institutions who work for organizations. Is it possible for those people who work for organizations to think like entrepreneurs? Is it possible that, they are within organizations, but they are restless because they want to make sure things happen, positive things happen within the organization? Can they bring growth to the organization? Can they bring productivity to the organization? And what is lacking in this country basically is that there's slow productivity in our country, because if you go to the civil service, you go to even private sector organizations, you realize that a lot of people are not performing the way they are supposed to perform. And so what this conference is about is to say, hey, wait a minute, can we all gather at one spot with the very best of speakers, people like Professor Tim Howard coming from the United States, and great minds in Nigeria, coming in to engage with those people. And then you have peer review mechanism where, young people themselves compare notes. I'm talking about people under 45, people under 50, even if you are over 50 years of age and you think that you want to improve your leadership skills, you want to be amongst those that can help this country make progress. I want to let you know that the more we have people who think, for the common good, right, in this country, who think Nigeria first, who also grow their businesses and think about other people, then we'll have a culture, a set of attitude that will, help develop our country. If you remember, the president on the 1st of October, what did he say to the country? It said our country people needs attitudinal change. Attitudinal change does not come by wishes. It must be deliberate. It must be instituted. It must be pursued. And, government systems will look at organizations like us and say, how can we partner to take this message of entrepreneurship and leadership development into the grassroots? And that's why I think, Friday and Saturday in this city of Abuja, the International Conference Center, something amazing is happening in this country. It's a gathering of champions. It's a gathering of change makers. It's a gathering of those who want to make a difference in our country. And for me, it's one of the best things that will happen to this country this year.
You said quite a number of things. Let me take you back to what you said about President Buhari, his speech on Independence Day. Towards the later part of the speech was when he said we need to have an attitudinal change. And I concur with him and I support what President Muhammad Buhari said in terms of, he went further to say, attitudinal change on the roads, attitudinal change when we get to the hospitals, attitudinal change in different places we are. We shouldn't just look at, okay, change as in, oh, you shouldn't be corrupt. But change comes in different ways. Change, how do you behave when you're on the road? When you see that traffic light and the light is still saying red, I get so pissed when people, perhaps I'm driving, the light is red and I'm there stopping, and perhaps because they are not seeing cars going, oh, it's free, I can. And you see them like, honey, pa, you should get out of the way. And I'm like, excuse me, if you even go to Accra, just take a 45 minutes flight to Accra from Lagos, you behave well. So that's what you're saying, that leadership in all ramifications.
It's in all ramifications, and most especially
change in all ramifications.
Most especially, its personal leadership is critical. And I tell you, personal leadership, ability to be able to lead your emotions as an individual. Because if somebody says you're stupid and you respond to the person that you're stupid, it means both of you are stupid. That's the point. You see that?
That's quite interesting.
Yeah, because you are unable to lead yourself as an individual. When people are provoked and the next thing is they start fighting, it means that those individuals have not been able to lead themselves effectively. So you need personal leadership. And my shock is that I found a lot of people who are unable to lead themselves personally, They can't even lead their own family units, and they are appointed into public positions. At the end of the day, they can't do well because they don't understand what leadership is about.
How do we measure this?
It's measurable.
Yes, because I know it should be measurable. And there's something that I like which you've spoken now, that you should be able to lead yourself first.
Absolutely.
If you're not able to lead yourself first, you won't be able to.
Correct.
And it's also part, that emotional leadership.
Yes, a man cannot give what he does not have.
What he doesn't have.
Absolutely. And you can measure these things. The leadership capital balance, which is one of the greatest graph that I use in teaching leadership. You need at least 60% over 100 across all of the leadership values that we're talking about. If we're talking about some of the greatest leadership capital values, like vision. You know the man they call Akmatum, senior in United Arab Emirates.
Dubai. He wrote
Dubai.
Is it the senior one? That's his father.
His father.
Yeah, yes. The guy that wrote my vision, his dad.
His dad. What did he do? He went to a desert place.
Yes.
Imagine somebody going to a desert place, and there was no water around desert, and he decided to create a seaport in a desert. What kind of thinking is that? This is a man with high sense of vision.
Yeah.
I mean, you can measure that his vision level is very high. And you see a lot of people in this country, and they have opportunity to make a difference in leadership, and they are only thinking about petty things or stomach infrastructure. That's what they're thinking about. And, they reduce leadership to petty business. You're not talking about nations are moving. There's what we call race of nations. Nations are trying to outsmart each other. India is making progress. Kenya is joining in the wagon of building entrepreneurs or people who are going to make a difference and a sense of value. I mean, integrating into global economy. And in our country, we're not inspiring our young people. We're not mentoring our young people to say, you know what, it doesn't matter whether you're in the village. It doesn't matter whether anywhere you are, you can make a difference. You can build your mind. It's about mindset. Can we have a paradigm shift in this country? It's not going to be by wish. It's going to be by work. And that's why I said at 19 years old, I was 19 years when I set up the organization I run now, Okorie, and I took it into the university. And for 21 years, I have kept on the vision in a very difficult environment.
How come you got that vision? How come at 19 you were able to do that and say, this is what I wanted to do?
Absolutely.
Did you have mentors? Okay, fine. You would have been reading books, isn't it?
Absolutely,
at that time? So you had mentors.
Yes, I had mentors through the books that I read. And I was inspired by quite a lot of those mentors. And I remember at 19, I remember even when I was 21, I went to Lagos to see Mr. Gamaliel Nosode, late Mr. Gamaliel Nosode, inspiring man. Yeah. It took me 3 days to, break through his secretary's, desk. And at the end of the day, I was able to see him, and he looked at me in the face, and I said to him, sir, can you chair my board? And he accepted to chair my board at that age while I was a student. So that tells you that, if we can give young people, expose young people to information, to quality mentors, I can tell you 1 second of inspiration can convert a person who didn't believe in this country to say, you know what, I believe in this country today. And that's why I advocate that any organization, any institution of government, whether it's parastatals or whether it is, corporate banks and all of that, if they don't deliberately send their young people and send them to conferences and leadership conferences that can help inspire their young people, at the end of the day, they are not doing their organizations any good. And that is why I tell private individuals, if you have mentors or mentees around you in your community, why don't you choose 2, 3, 4 young people in the village and say, I want to sponsor you to Abuja to attend the Emerging Leaders Conference. We wrote a letter to all the members of the National Assembly in this, we just asked them, each person, do you know what you should do? Please take 3 young people from your constituency, support them, invest in them, pay for them to attend. I mean, 1 or 2 of them have responded, but I challenge them that is the way to go. Because if you don't take those young people out of those communities, local communities, and send them to be exposed to the way things are done globally, how can those young people, get better? How can they grow? Would they just stay in their local villages? Is that what life is about? So we must begin to deliberately, from government funding, create opportunities for young people to be exposed to leadership and enterprise teaching. That is the only way that we can grow a critical mass of people who can think differently, who can make a difference and make our country grow and become the best our country can ever become.
The question is, the way we are going right now, is there a death of mentors?
There is, absolutely.
Isn't it? Because you look everywhere now, right, left. The kind of mentors, supposed mentors you're seeing are those that are peripheral, and cosmetic.
Absolutely.
You know what
Absolutely.
I mean? Not mentors that have, there are few of them though that, you know, are well grounded. I'm like, oh, I'd like to be like this man. I'd like to be like this woman. Though we are not perfect, you know, but you take one or two things
Absolutely.
from such people.
Absolutely.
And I'm worried that the way things are going, we don't have good mentors anymore. Young people are growing now to see different things on TV, read papers. Okay, the internet is even there. You know, you hear news of different stories and all of that. So what do we do to deliberate? Because you said it's deliberate.
It's deliberate.
It's deliberate to be able to build that critical mass of young people. And I'm emphasizing young people because the Nigerian population is a young population.
Absolutely. And if we don't do that, if we don't invest in young people today, I can tell you the truth of the matter. With this huge population of young people, we don't shape their minds, we don't help them think right, we don't help them build their leadership capital skills. What will happen is that these young people will now grow in the future and they will become a negative force in this country. And that's not what we wish as a nation.
You see, everybody
Absolutely.
now wants to dance.
Yes.
You know, when I was somewhere here, was it 2-3 weeks ago or so, I saw an audition and you needed to see the critical mass of people that are coming to see if they can dance or not, to see if they have one talent or the other. I'm not saying that we should throw that away, but a lot of people, especially a lot of young people, are looking the other side now to be able to like earn a living and do stuff for themselves. The other part is not actually inspiring enough. How many people are you expecting now to come for this Emerging Leaders Conference? People will say, okay, Nancy and Linus just speaking what they like, you know, but it's about coming there, for example, and getting one or two things that could even help me as an individual.
Absolutely. And not just only the individual. If one person is invited to that conference, the person goes back with the knowledge the person has learned, the person changes, the person goes back to that community. What would the person do? The person will impact his community and more people will believe in that dream. I started as a single person. In this today, I mean, I influence over thousands and millions of people across Nigeria. But I started as an individual, and a lot of young people I've mentored who are also doing great things.
How do you measure, for example, now the conferences were on Friday and Saturday?
The conference is Friday and Saturday, this here in Abuja International Conference Center.
Okay, can I come?
Absolutely. Well, I'm going to invite you as my VIP guest. but if there's anyone who is listening to me today who says he wants to participate in this conference, you want to be part of it, all you simply will need to do is to send us only a text. Send a text to 080-335-12469. 080-335-12469.
Okay.
Just a text.
Okay, I was coming to something before you started calling the number. You know, that I can come, isn't it?
Yes, you can.
Okay. How do you measure after the conference? Because that's very key. It's not about attendance, but it's about after the show, after the conference, the people that will come and go into the larger society. Is there a mechanism to measure their impact in the society?
Absolutely. There's what we call theory of change that we've applied. And, you know, in the past, what we do is that we have contact of those who have attended and we contact them. Sometimes we visit their systems and we interview them. We realize that they have learned, they have grown, and they have gone to their organizations. They are impacting their organizations. I have stories I can tell you. A young man who attended one of the conferences, you know what he did? He went to University of Nsukka in Enugu and created a movement for 500 young people. Amazing. He invited me. I went there to inspire those young people. And then he went to law school and set up a team of 200 and something young people and impacted them greatly. I also went there to impact them. Just one person. You know what I'm saying? I've seen a lot of other people who, you know, some of them are not even in the country today. They are outside Nigerians and they are doing great things. So I'm saying that these things are measurable, they are impactful, because once there's a paradigm shift in a person's, somebody changes the way he thinks. You know what I mean? That person's life changes automatically. Because at the end of the day, if the person used to sleep 8 hours or 10 hours a day, the person will now start sleeping for 6 hours or 5 hours. You know what I'm talking about? And then we'll use the other 5 hours to invest in himself and add value to himself. You see, it's a different. If somebody used to steal money before and the person attends a conference and, you know, he no longer, you know, steals money again, that's huge impact on the person. So if the person, I've met people who say, I don't like Nigeria, I hate Nigeria. And after the conference, guess what? This individual says, I'm in love with Nigeria. So it means that there's a certain information that when people are privy to, What happens is that it changes that individual. It's like preaching a message in church or something. An individual comes for the first time and just doesn't believe, and then a word comes to the person, and the person is transformed. You see that? That is the way it is. It is livable. I have been experienced in over how many years today? I can tell you I've seen changes happen in the lives of people as a result of this conference, and I've seen people build businesses that are making a difference just because of the fact that they learned how to do things differently.
Now, the question is, because we're talking grooming intra and entrepreneurs, what's actually the difference?
The difference, you have, the entrepreneurs are those who are business owners. They, find an idea and they decide to own their own businesses, and they are restless until those businesses work, right? But the entrepreneur is that individual who is not, he doesn't own his own business, but he works for somebody else. But within the organization, he takes the business like it is his own.
Yeah.
He doesn't say this is somebody's business. Like, you have what bad idea that is happening in this country if you own a business and you're not there directly. It's possible that business is going to fail.
Yes.
But you see somebody says, you know what, I work for government, for public sector. You know what I'm going to do? I will work as if this is my father's business. This is my business, and he would ensure that, he changes, he's innovative, he brings ideas that can, help the organization work. He's restless until things begin to work positively. Because those are the kinds of people we need to invest in.
There's this thinking that, after all, not be my own now.
Absolutely.
Not be my papa work, so.
It's like people say national cake. What is national cake?
So
what is national cake? Until we own Nigeria. There are a lot of people in poverty in this country, I can tell you. If you go to the street today, you see a lot of people in poverty. And I tell you the truth, if you have visionary leadership across board, the state governors are pushing and are having a sense of urgency in getting things done. And at the end of the day, have quality people around them. And as they begin to push to make things work, a lot of people come out of poverty. A lot of people will get jobs. A lot of people will be better off.
Are you inspired by the kind of... should I call them leaders that we have now? Because there's a difference between, for me, there's a difference between leaders and office holders or office supervisors. I don't know if you understand what I'm saying.
Yeah.
No, I really don't mean it literally. Let's take, for example, an MD, a managing director, or perhaps a minister. A minister is supposed to be like a leader in that sphere.
Absolutely.
If I'm the Minister of Works, okay, what's the vision of the Works Ministry and all of that. So what actually is the difference between being a leader in that sphere or just being appointed or occupying, a position occupier, or come to supervise that office?
First thing first is that it is possible to occupy a public position and you're not a leader. It is possible. I mean, I've seen a lot of situations like that. But when you find a leader, he comes into the organization, he doesn't just jump and start working. First thing first he does is he gets his team together. He would meet with PAMSEC and directors and top management of that ministry or parastatal, whatever it is. And first thing first, he will want to find out where are we, isn't it? And the next thing, he will now paint a vision. This is where we are taking the organization to. That is a responsibility of the leader to make that happen and inspire the people to follow. He would rather want to build leaders out of followers. But the person who is occupying public positions will get into such a place. You know what he wants to do? He will gain more followers. More followers are people who cannot think for themselves. They cannot even, anything the chief says is all correct, sir, and things like that. So we need a change of that. Let's enthrone those who are true leaders.
Very quickly, in
really
few seconds, what should the government do at this point?
What the government should tap into the quality of resources that some of us have to be able to push this agenda. There's no need to reinventing the wheel. All they need to do is to find people who are doing what we're doing and pull us together, and we can help advise government on how to build young people in this country. Again, anybody who is listening to me today and you want to be part of the Emerging Leaders Conference and you say you want to sit in this conference, all you need to do is that send us a text on 080-335-12469, and for the last time 080-335-12469. Say your name, what you do, and why you want to be part of the conference, and we'll let you know what it will cost you to be part of this conference.
You've invited me already.
You are my VIP list.
So I should come and learn a lot of
absolutely.
things, isn't it? I should come and learn a lot of things. All right, many thanks for coming on the program. I've been speaking with Linus Okorie. He is the president of Agatne. What more can I say? We need good leaders in the country. Thank you for joining us again today. Please join us again tomorrow for another edition of the program. Be the best you can be the change you want to see. I am Nancy Ilo. God bless Nigeria. Bye now.